Crawford and Jacob Sniff, and we're very happy to have them here. I would just shortly share my screen and talk about the technology as such, and then I will go over and make Jacob the host, and then he can share his screen, and then I can also after that make Dana the host. So thank you so much for everything and for attending. And here's our introduction. Can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
So Accentec Technologies was founded about a year ago, and what we do is integrating IoT, AI, software as a service, and hardware. So we provide an environment for the IoT. So what are we doing? We are enabling businesses to streamline operations and save money and increase competitiveness by implementing those technologies. We deploy touchscreen technology and software as a service, and in some cases, camera technology and software as a service, and AI. And today's presentation is about one aspect of our offering, which is AI. And altogether, we are basically creating Internet of Things ecosystems. So what are we doing? We have in our program ruggedized computers, digital workflow management, digital assembly and automation, inventory management, and AI recognition technology, which we will speak today about. Those are some of our rugged computers here. So what is AI in a very popular sense? It enables computers and machines to mimic perception, learning, and problem solving of humans. In a more sophisticated setting, Dana Crawford and Jacob Sniff will lead you through their presentation today. What does facial recognition do? Is basically identifying a person from an image or video, and so during the facial identification, the system attempts to predict the identity of the face. It does so by determining whether the face is an image. In the image potentially matches any of the faces previously stored in the system. And that's basically what those technologies are doing. Facial recognition is mostly being used in the security market and in the law enforcement market, but it becomes more and more popular in retail, hospitality, ATMs, digital advertising, bus safety, and the airline industry. So those are huge markets. And now I want to introduce to you Jacob Sniff, the CEO of Accentec Technologies, and Dana Crawford, the VP of Business Development of Accentec Technologies. And this is our contact information for further references. And now let me just give over to both of those participants. and then we can let me just give me a second. Yeah, maybe so 1 second, I enable the chat here too. And I will make Dana first allow him to share here and make him a host. So wonderful. So Dana, you're a host now, and you can continue talking.
Well, thank you, Volkmar, for inviting us to participate in this event today. Just by way of background, for those who are participating right at the moment, I've probably spent a little over 20 years in the public safety market space. Well, over 30 years in the high-tech industry, and most recently, probably over 20 years in the high-tech public safety market space, both for state, local, and federal authorities, as well as the military, and have watched those particular markets advance considerably over the years in terms of available technology for them to fulfill their missions. And I've been with Accentec Technologies now for about 3 years now, and we've been very successful in marketing and selling our products into the public safety market space. With the advent of COVID in 2020, early on, the company noticed a number of opportunities outside of public safety that could take advantage of the technology that we have developed. And I know Volkmar in his presentation here has identified facial recognition, but there are actually 3 aspects to facial recognition. The first being detection, the second being analysis, and the last being identification or recognition. And we work in a number of different vertical markets that take advantage of each unique feature of our technology today. And I'll, at this point, I'll turn it over to Jacob so that he can present the company background and our technology.
1 second, I have to make Jacob the host, and that's give me 1 second, please. Just 1 second. Okay. Okay. So Jacob is a host now and can present. Jacob, I can't hear you.
Jacob, you're on mute.
There you go. Okay. So you can hear me now. Start from the top. So, you know, as I said, so we call ourselves the leader in facial recognition analytics for public and private safety, right? And at this point, there are 3 key verticals that our technology really addresses. which is, redaction, suspect search, and enterprise facial recognition. And, it's all security and convenience focused, as Volkmar gave his overview there. The redaction technology is meant to blur faces. So the left-hand image here, you can see the person's face is blurred. So, we just make it very simple to do that. The middle column here, suspect search, I mean, we make it very simple to match, faces to a database, to put a name to a face, essentially. So if you're Harvard University, for example, I mean, you might want to upload all of your images, that you might want to, you see someone on a surveillance video, you want to know who they are very simply. And the third vertical there, enterprise facial recognition. I mean, essentially we customize the facial recognition for a variety of kiosk customers. Here you can see the use cases, remote verification and forensic investigation. So, I mean, we customize it for those use cases. So we usually integrate and deploy with different customers in it, integrating into the different kiosks and other evidence portals. So, hopefully gives you some perspective on the technology. We just build the algorithms at the end of the day. So if you guys have, good ideas on the technology, I mean, we'd be happy to discuss them. The redaction is just artificial intelligence that really detects and tracks faces very simply. It's very cross-platform, as you can see on the left-hand side, support for Azure Cloud on-premise server. So we deploy this on the cloud and we deploy it on-premise. It's compliant as well. That's usually what people want to hear in the law enforcement field. The middle column here, the facial recognition, it's also a one-to-N sort of algorithm. It allows you to search the faces across the database. Support for cloud desktop and on-premise, as well. And the enterprise, as I said, it's it's the facial recognition there is customized for the client. So grouping similar faces in forensic data that leverages our facial recognition algorithm there. There's a lot of interest in age, gender, ethnicity, analysis. In general, the technology, Volkmar said that, I should give some overview of the technology. I just want to say, like, understanding photos is not trivial for computers, right? Like, you think about an image, it's just a series of pixels. So the computer sees just a series of pixels, as you can see here. It's just a bunch of numbers. Like this black cat here is just a bunch of numbers, right? It's 99, 75, 62, so. And what our technology does is it can take that black cat, the series of pixels there, and it understands through pattern matching, what the cat, that it is a cat, that, a certain percentage, 82% cat, 15% dog, 2% hat, 1% mug. So that's really how we develop our technology. We develop our technology here to really, detect and understand patterns very simply. So, if it sees a series of black pixels that look like the shape and a color of the cat, it's going to classify it as a cat, at the end of the day. So that's similar, not exactly the same, but similar to how the facial recognition works. There's a lot of issues. I mean, it's not a trivial problem. I mean, you can see there's viewpoint variation, there's scale variation, there's deformation, there's background clutter, there's occlusion. These are all different challenges, illumination conditions. So if you look at someone's face, for example, here on the left-hand side, there's 3 different angles right here, right? Viewpoint variation. So the technology, it can make sense of this, but it's also some of the challenges. So I'll show a demo here later on of the facial recognition, but I just want to say, like, there's a lot of still issues. So it's there's not a trivial problem. So here, in general, but I wanted to discuss now and maybe just show a demo of our technology, and discuss it. So let me try to X out of it here and just show a demo of technology. The redaction technology, I mean, it allows the public safety market to blur faces very simply in video streams here. So here I'm loading a video here, and I mean, the goal here really is to detect and track the faces as easy as possible. So if I call this module here, this is our artificial intelligence technology here, what it's going to do is it's going to try to detect and track each person as one object. It won't be perfect because it's, it has a lot of challenges, as I said on that page there. It's got, different illumination conditions, issues, different angles, so you can see here it found these 7 objects. So, let me move this, let me make this a little clearer here. So you can see here, let me play this from the start here. I mean, you can see here its goal is to detect and track the faces here. So it's trying to find most of the faces most of the time. That's how we built the technology. There'll still be some gaps. So you can see here, these, make sense. So hopefully this makes sense. So this is a, you know, you want to blur when, especially in the security markets, when they give the videos to people, you know, they need to blur the bystanders. I mean, that's it at the end of the day. I mean, so if someone's a bystander, you want to blur their face. So if they're not seen on video, it's, you know, it's a privacy protection product, right? So, you know, so it's very simple interface to clean up as well. You know, so once the artificial intelligence does most of the work, you can see there's still some misses. I mean, this person's face is pointed downwards, so we don't detect it. So when you open the eye right here, you can see here how I've opened the eye very simply, and you can see how it detects and tracks her face very simply. And you know, so hopefully it gives you some perspective, you know, on the technology. So as their path, you know, changes there. So the technology does most of the work, and then I'm just doing some slight touch-ups here. Once those paths intersect, I can then do something called merge these two paths. You know, then you've merged these two paths very simply. So merging person 4 and 7. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody on this page, you know, on the conference call. So that's how it works. You can see, like, for example, right there, the computer accidentally detected it as a, you know, the shoe here, or this leg here as a person. It's obviously not a person. So you can click the trash can, click that goodbye, and then it's gone. So that's how it works. The technology, you can see, does most of the work, then the human does some slight touch-ups. Hopefully that makes sense to everybody. Yeah, so yeah, so that's the redaction technology. You know, the second technology I really want to show is the facial recognition. So the facial recognition here, it allows you to upload a database. So as I was saying, like if you're Harvard University, you could upload, you know, they have the images of the students because, you know, they need to identify them for various purposes. And, you know, they need to, you know, understand who's on campus, who's not on campus, et cetera. So, you know, we don't store databases. That's not our approach. We develop, you know, ethical facial recognition technology. As we say, I mean, you know, maybe your employer has some images because, quite frankly, you know, they would want to, you know, you know, to understand, you know, if it's a large corporation, you know, they need to know who the people are on site, the security director. So, you know, if you get a shot, you know, from you know, a surveillance video. So a typical use case is you have an image from a surveillance video here, right? So here's an image from a surveillance camera. We've taken this image here and we've uploaded it to our site. So the detectives, for example, can come on here, create a case very simply, you know, upload the image and match it. So from here, you know, from here, it's very simple. I mean, you can click the case, for example, click the data set to match it to. So what it's going to do is it's going to try to match that image that we've seen there to all the images in this database. If it finds a match, it's going to tell you the match, you know, it's going to show up the match and it's going to show the confidence of the match. So you know, that's in basics how it works. So you can see here, this is now loaded in very quickly in, you know, under a second here. So you can see here, it detects this person here, is this person here, this person here, right? Is, you know, you know, well, okay, like this person here is this person here. So like, for example, if you look at this person here, you can see here, you match to another person in the database of 86% confidence. You can then click on the image, you can see if it's him. It does look like it's him, doesn't it? You know, or if you look at this one here, right? So this guy here matches to Bob here of 72% confidence. And then click on Bob and see, you know, see if it looks, you know, looks exactly the same. So yeah, so hopefully that makes sense, some sense to everybody. So, you know, it detects all of them and shows the matches here on the right-hand side. So, you know, it has no limitation. You can see here, I think this person here is the thumbnail here, and you can see here 76% confidence even from way in the distance there, 20, you know, 10 yards away. So hopefully it makes some sense to everybody. You know, that's how the facial recognition works. So I'm happy to demo it more a bit later on if there's any more questions, but you know, let me just go through a few more slides here. So, you know, that's really, you know, how it works. So, you know, the redaction technology, we've really handled a lot of edge cases. So our company really invests a lot into a lot of edge cases, detecting smaller faces, you know, robust against motion blur, handles over 150 faces in image. There's a lot of different edge cases for redaction. I don't want to go all on here, but even with good technology, I can tell you today, it can still be difficult to blur a face, you know, blur a video. It's just, you know, the body camera industry really, there's a lot of interest there. It's just so much work. The face recognition, as you know, I gave a demo there as well. I mean, it's yeah, I mean, we integrate with a lot of records management systems. We integrate their face databases. We don't store our own. Deploy on cloud, on-premise or desktop. So if people are not comfortable with the cloud, they don't want their images, you know, being matched in the cloud. That's okay too. So I hope that gives you some perspective, a bit more information. And oftentimes we're customizing it for enterprise clients. The SDK is available for vendor integrations. We've just since the pandemic hit, I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know if anybody's got their temperature check taken, but we've integrated with different temperature check platforms so far, a few of them. And, we make it very simple to, do that. And to give you some perspective on some of our customers today, I mean, in redaction, right, we have the New York City Police Department, the largest agency in all of United States. They have 50 licenses for 50 full-time workers there, and they handle hundreds of FOIA requests a day. That's really where it comes in. So when someone requests the content, Freedom of Information Act, you might know it for documents, but it also applies to videos. That's where they have to give the video to someone. They have to blur the bystander. So that's where the technology comes in. Facial recognition here, Lafayette, Indiana. 2 suspects in the past 2 months from CCTV footage. So they're just on a monthly basis. There's maybe someone shoplifting, or something like this, and they need to know who the person is. So that's really where it puts name to face. The enterprise license for 10 detectives over there at Lafayette, so that's really good. A couple of enterprise clients that we have here, ADF Solutions, we're working with a data dump company. What they help is unlock the cell phone. So we make it very simple to organize the data. So we're helping them search for children images, and because that's what they're looking for at the end of the day. A lot of times, children images. They roll out to 2,000. So they're rolling out to a lot of law enforcement customers. So I mean, in total, we probably have over a few thousand law enforcement customers that use our technology at this point, whether it's redaction or suspect search, or ADF Solutions is using the age recognition piece of it to search for children images. The right-hand side, the last one I want to mention here is, we've integrated with a company called Aurora Multimedia and a couple others. They help, check your temperature. I mean, that's what we do. We help them detect your face, recognize the face, and really localize the face to, run that facial recognition. So hopefully that gives you some perspective on it. Even recently, when we're having talked to Volkmar, we've talking to some schools even recently about, integrating this into access control for their the visitors walk in. Maybe we scan the visitors' faces. So we're not trying to scan everybody's faces, but we're trying to scan the visitors because we want to check them across lists. So similar deployment we have with the Dallas Mavericks. Actually, the Dallas Mavericks, they the facial recognition. You walk in there and it scans your face, and it scans the players' faces. So if you're Dorian Finney-Smith here, I mean, you can see here it just recognizes Dorian Finney-Smith. So and it shows their their name on the screen there, and then it shows their calendar as well. So and custom messages. So it's a scroll wheel, and that's what it does. You walk in there and it does the facial recognition. So happy to discuss that more. I don't have a lot of content because it's sort of under wraps there, but facial recognition, just give you some idea, it can be enhanced security like that as well. So hope I give some perspective. Our investors today, we have a very good group of investors. Mark Cuban, Princeton University, Jack Ventures, Twin Ventures. These are all some big names in the various spaces of of investment, and they're all happy to support us. Our mission here. I mean, we really develop ethical facial recognition. It's really we're not trying to do surveillance or anything. That's not what we're doing. It's really those applications, and our team is very experienced. I mean, we're a group of research scientists from academia, as I said at the start. I myself have done a couple of past startups, as well as a couple of I've been a researcher at various places. Shrikant here, he's a CTO of the company. He's been at different top institutes, including MATLAB in Alabama, 5+ patents in biometrics. Dana here is on the call. He's got 20 years of plus experience in selling, different products to law enforcement and military. So he's, on the lower left-hand side. So there's a lot of really strong talent here. And that's all I want to say. It's really, really about the ethical feature of facial recognition. So, I just want to summarize by saying I think this is my last slide here, but, we really are committed to help, quickly solve crime, and, redaction's meant to save time. The suspect search here is similar. Someone's manually looking through your database, we're helping automate that. Or we're helping check temperatures, or we're, the enterprise clients, I mean, is as Volkmar was saying at the start of the call, integrating into different, even ATMs or, different hospitality convenience verticals. I mean, it's all about saving time, maybe enhancing quality of life, or providing value there. So we're not doing any surveillance. That's actually not what we do. So if you've seen the news about a company called Clearview, that's not what we're doing here. We're not doing Clearview. So I just want to be clear of that. So hopefully, you know, that gives everybody some perspective. I'm happy to answer any questions or, you know, you know, show more product demos, whatever you guys want to spend the time on. Maybe I'll give it over to Volkmar now. Volkmar.
So, hi. Can you see me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So I would encourage now to a little bit of Q&A, and everyone who wants to speak up can unmute himself. Otherwise, I'm gonna ask a couple of questions.
Yeah, any questions, or we'll take Volkmar's questions to start it maybe.
Yeah, so Jacob, I thank you so much for presenting. Could you maybe tell us a little bit more about the underlying mechanisms of the technology and how it evolved, let's say, in the last 5 years?
Yeah, definitely, Volkmar. If you let me share my screen again, I'll go through that. Yeah.
I don't know if you can show a screen when you're
Not the host, but you can make me host though, right, Volkmar? I think you can still speak.
yeah.
And maybe just make me host again because we can just switch back then.
Yes.
Okay. You know, as I was saying, so you know, the underlying technology. I mean, it's a pattern matching technology. So it's you know, the video stream is a series of pixels. It's a series of images and it's a series of pixels, right? So, you know, 71, 89, that's what the algorithm's computer sees. They reads in the black cat here, as you can see here, it's zoomed in on a very small section of its face and it's seeing, you know, a bunch of pixel values. So that's what we see here. But the computer, we train it to understand groups, you know, the different image, we feed it a series of images. It learns what those images look like. So it looks for patterns. So when it sees this series of pixels like this, it then categorizes it, you know, as a black cat, for example. So that's basically how it works. I mean, it's the easiest way to think about it is just some pattern matching, right? So, you know, the black cat there, you know, if we trained it on a bunch of examples here, you know, 100, you know, 1,000, 10,000 images of a black cat, it sees a new image of a black cat, it's going to try to, you know, it's going to, because it has so many past examples, and I mean, it just matches the two essentially. So that's really, you know, very basic way of looking at it. I mean, there's a lot of math behind it and there's a lot of other stuff, but you know, that I mean, that's what it is. The artificial intelligence there, it you know, we train and test on different large scale data sets, and it you know, it tries to understand those. So you know, that's really how it works. And as I said, you know, we try to train on a lot of examples. So there's a lot of different conditions out there in the field. You know, viewpoint, scale, there's different sizes, you know, of cats, for example. There's different views. I mean, side view, front view. There's different illumination conditions, right? So if the sunlight is there or not. So we feed this more examples, so it's smarter about those examples. It's similar to facial recognition. I mean, you know, you feed it more examples, it understands, you know, those examples more. So I mean, that's really the short of it. You know, Volkmar, I don't know if you have any questions, but I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it. I mean, it really just is pattern matching at the end of the day.
Yeah, sounds good. Great illustration here. I didn't know that the technology works with pixels, so that's cool. And so I've worked in automation in the last couple of years, And what I saw is a lot of vision technology startups in the pick and place space. For example, like Amazon warehousing and so on. Could you just elaborate a little bit on recognizing different products, visual technology for the pick and place vertical or automation, warehousing?
Yep. Definitely. So it's similar, maybe slightly different, but I mean, yeah, as Volkmar was saying, I mean, if the the Amazon workers trying to maybe they have a robot or some other machine sorting system or something like that. It's similar sort of pattern matching. I mean, it's the robot might be going around and looking for patterns to understand where it's going. And the worker, maybe they're classifying mail or whatever they're classifying, a set of tools, for example. Maybe they want to understand they have some tool, they don't know what kind of tool it is, for example. So some tagging technology there. So it's similar. I mean, we feed it more the machine examples of the tools, you feed it examples of the robots use case. I mean, it's doing path planning, and it's also looking for objects, right? So it's looking for if there's certain barriers when it sees, so the camera's intaking data, the camera's being fed that. So I mean, that's really it, Volkmar. So it's similar. I mean, you're feeding it examples, the machine's learning what's right and wrong, and then it's when it sees a new example and from a camera feed, it's going to make a decision on it. So it's a similar concept, but these are very specific applications. Like the robot moving around, or the worker sorting mail, or I mean the object sorting as well. I mean, tool, you want to understand what tool it is, for example, just by taking a snapshot from your iPhone. These are all possibilities, right? So it's a similar sort of pattern matching. You feed it examples, it learns the examples, and then it makes decisions when it sees a new query image. If Volkmar, I don't know if you have any other follow-up questions, but that's what I have to say.
Okay, great. So beyond the security and law enforcement, what verticals are you looking into right now? Where do you see trends?
Yeah, as you said, I think on your slides, Volkmar, there, we really focus on security and convenience applications. So the temperature check market, since the pandemic hit, really, maybe I'll try to put up, maybe some of the work we're doing with Aurora here, but we're doing a lot of work in the temperature space right now for make it very simple to check people's temperatures, for example. So these are similar sort of examples of integrations we've done. So we've integrated this into a thermal tablet solution like this, or a kiosk. So there's a lot of kiosk companies that are interested in it now. I mean, maybe they're you're soon going to be going to a maybe soon you're going to be going to a gate, some event, and instead of having to worry about your card or your phone, I mean, it might just scan your face when you're checking out. So imagine it's a fair, right? In the fair, maybe you scan your face in advance. Your face stores $20 to $50, and then you walk up and it's just a $20 to $50 is already there, so you don't have to worry about a phone or anything. So these are sort of applications that are really gaining a lot of traction now, especially because there's so much interest in contactless identification. So this is an example of the temperature check platform that we just integrated our technology into. So make it very simple to check people's temperatures, and yeah. So these are some examples. So Dana, I don't know if you have anything to add about the verticals we're working on now. I mean,
yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
point out that we are selling those devices too. And the same temperature sensor technology is also available at Accentec Technologies, and that's, I think, how we started to work together initially. So thank you. And yeah, I just want to give it out to the participants again. Maybe someone could unmute himself and speak. Can you unmute yourself or not? And I just take back my host.
Yeah, and Dana had something. Dana, do you have something to add, or?
Dana, do you wanna talk a little bit, maybe more about the different markets and the market approach?
Sure. Thank you, Volkmar. Just to follow on some of the issues or challenges that Jacob has presented, some of the verticals that we have discovered early on in 2020, some of the challenges or benefits of our technology that the individual vertical markets receive or have identified for us. First and foremost, within public safety, it's operational efficiency. For those who aren't familiar with public safety today, police departments receive video from or sensor information from multiple sources, whether it be body worn, in vehicle, CCTV surveillance from private businesses and so forth. And the video that they retain and have to store is growing exponentially year over year. And that video needs to, from time to time, needs to be presented either to the general public or the judicial system because of what we call Freedom of Information Act. And that information has to be presented to the general public within a certain prescribed time frame. Well, up until Suspect Technologies, that process of redacting video was a manually intensive process and required a great deal of resources to get accomplished. So with the introduction of our technology, we've been able to cut the time to redact videos substantially, as well as save monies on resources to get that accomplished. The other aspect today of our facial recognition software is being integrated with access control devices. And we've been in discussion with a number of companies today that want to integrate facial detection, analysis, and identification in security systems, both from a commercial perspective, large businesses and so forth only want certain employees to have access to certain areas of their facility, or college campuses and universities, as Jacob has pointed out. Dormitories have tight control and security access, and facial recognition is being used as a means to authenticate an individual before they have or allowed to access a particular dorm. The other thing Jacob mentioned is we're working with a number of healthcare companies today. I'll give you another example of a use case. We're in conversation with a company that is designing and developing virtual reality glasses, where a medical attendant will wear these glasses that has both a two different types of cameras, one a digital camera for facial analysis, and the other being a thermal camera. And you've got a medical attendant sitting in front of a patient. And through the use of our facial recognition software, we can detect, analyze, and identify the patient and call up their medical records remotely. And there again, we've got operational efficiencies through the use of that technology. So we're working with access control. I'll give you my last example would be many large companies are doing away with receptionists today in the front lobby. And the only piece of equipment in the front lobby is a kiosk. That kiosk has built into it a number of sensors, one being a thermal camera to detect or to screen the individual's temperature to determine whether they fall into an acceptable threshold from a temperature standpoint. And if they fall outside of that threshold, there's an alert that is sent to local personnel there to take the appropriate action. But what we're seeing too is companies are asking visitors who are showing up at the front lobby to pre-register for meetings that are going to take place in that building. And through the pre-registration process, they're providing a digital image of themselves, and it goes into a visitor management system. So when they enter the lobby, not only is the thermal camera checking their stats, their health stats, but the digital image camera is recognizing or identifying the individual as pre-registered for a meeting in that facility. And it does two things. It will generate a badge for access to the facility, as well as provide an alert to the individual who has scheduled or is organizing the meeting that you're in the lobby to be collected. So there's a number of different types of use cases that provide operational efficiencies, ensure security and safety. And also we're trying to, with, again, COVID, provide a healthy environment for employees and students and so on. We're also working with the educational market space. Again, trying to track students who have been tested positive for COVID and are trying to re-enter the school prior to quarantine, the 14-day quarantine period, and sending alerts based on their identification, student identification, that they're showing up prematurely and somebody in the staff needs to take the appropriate action. So facial detection, analysis, and identification is improving operational efficiency, providing increased security, and also helping to ensure that there's a healthy environment for employees, students, contractors, and so on. So those are the types of different companies and vertical markets that we're working with outside of just law enforcement today.
Thank you so much, Dana, for this. Do you see yourself with your recognition technology going beyond facial recognition, or what is your outlook into various industrial spaces?
Now, that's a great question, Volkmar. We've been within the public safety market space, we've been asked to detect not only faces, but objects. And that certainly could go well beyond just public safety. I'll give you another example. We're working with what we call digital signage companies today. You may walk through an airport today and see a number of digital monitors up on the walls communicating messaging to those who are in the terminals themselves. And those companies spend a great deal of money today developing marketing messages, but they have no way of determining how effective those marketing messages are as people either read the messages or walk by. So we're working with digital signage companies to use our facial recognition software to provide real-time data as to how those messages are being received by the general audience, i.e. we're collecting data like gender, ethnicity, age groups, duration of time that they stand in front of the signage to read it. What were their emotional reactions to the messaging? How many people actually stayed in front of the signage during the course of a period of time versus how many people just walked past it? This data allows marketing companies to fine-tune their marketing message based on the audience that's they're trying to reach. So it's again data that we collect, provide marketing companies, but it's not considered surveillance data. We're not trying to identify any one individual. And if the companies are conforming with the proper policies and procedures in terms of implementing our technology, that data is generally held for a certain period of time and then deleted. So that's just another example of our products being used from a use case perspective. And I know, Volker, you asked about objects. Quite often we're asked to, at least in public safety today, to help better identify car types, vehicle types for police and so forth to help solve crime. So it goes beyond just facial. We're working with police on object identification.
Yeah, so that brings me kind of to towards the end, but of course there's a big discussion going around about privacy and so my question is, how do you, by implement, you just mentioned the example of display systems that have also the ability to read facial expressions and then make conclusions on whether people are interested in a certain product. That kind of brings me to a question of privacy. So could you elaborate on that? You know, how do we make, since we have then all the databases, basically the databases are out there already on Facebook and so on. So combining two databases to one is not necessarily a problem. So what safeguard mechanisms do you think a company like yours can put in place to secure the privacy of people, since they don't know they necessarily, when I'm in an airport, that they're being in some form surveyed?
Great question. Over the years, we've been working with public safety because facial recognition, people immediately think of real-time video surveillance and the invasion of privacy and so forth, and Big Brother looking over their shoulder or whatever. We've worked with public safety agencies and departments in consulting with them as to how to implement the best business practices, policies, and procedures to be as transparent as possible in terms of the use of facial recognition software. And there's a similar challenge in Europe as well, the GDPR, or General Data Privacy Act, or regulation in Europe. So before we sell our product, or in concert with selling our product to our customers, we consult with them as to the best practices that are recognized today in certain markets for the implementation of this technology. And it really comes down to being as transparent as possible with the general public about what data is being collected, how it's being used, how long it's being stored, and it eventually being deleted at some point in time. So it really talks about making sure that every party has buy-in and has an option to either participate or opt out in terms of the technology, the use of the technology. So that's how we work with our customers today. And the other thing I want to point out is that for the most part, our technology is, again, it's a tool. We don't own the data per se as a company. It's a search tool and an analysis tool, but it's the end customer at the end of the day, or our end customer, that owns the data. And that's why we consult with them as to the best business practices that are out there today for the implementation of the technology.
And so what's your kind of outlook for the technology? What is your feeling in, I mean, you just mentioned before looking having facial recognition read and so on, you know, are we becoming, I'm just a provocative question now, are we becoming in Germany, if we say gläserne Menschen, are we becoming glass people? I mean, or what do you think about these do we have, let's say, I mean, we're looking now into countries like China, where the technology is much more advanced and much more thorough in the public, and people don't seem to have a problem with that. But we here in the West, we're obviously very individualistic. So you think that
well,
there should be certain laws in place or something?
I think I know where you're going with the question. And a number of states already, in the absence of any federal guidelines or regulations today with the use of facial recognition, a number of states have begun to take it on themselves to define what will be acceptable in the use of facial recognition technology. But I believe at some point in time, the federal government, as well as the tech companies, are all going to, as well as the general public, our politicians, are going to have to chime in and develop longer term rules and regulations for the use of this technology. But until that happens, I think it will be up to the individual states themselves to work collaboratively with local businesses and the general public to define legislation around the use of this technology.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think we're coming to a close here. My question to the audience: are there any questions? If yes, if there's something I haven't covered, please unmute yourself.
I have a question, like essentially, like, are there any objective performance metrics for evaluating your technology and any performance guarantees? Like, I mean, obviously, if you're using for law enforcement, I mean, there should be some liability, like for making a wrong decision, like essentially. If the technology is, if you're kind of selling a technology, like, and there are plenty of them actually, like, I mean, it's not the first time that I've seen a facial recognition technology. There are a lot of vendors, but is there, from competitive standpoint as well as a liability standpoint, is there any performance measures or metrics and then guarantees around that?
Jacob, do you want to answer that one, or do you want me?
Yeah, definitely, I can answer that one. I mean, definitely. I mean, we do a lot of academic trading and testing, in our own, and so we have a lot of internal graphs and papers and stuff like this, right? And, in addition, I mean, there is formal government benchmarking as well. I mean, we're going to be doing that soon as well. So, for facial recognition specifically, I mean, NIST does a lot of benchmarking of stuff like this, the government body there, but we'll probably do that in 1 or 2 quarters. So, we definitely do a lot of, but, all of our customers today, I should say, of all this benchmarking, we get that asked occasionally. Almost all of them have always just asked to test the technology themselves, and that's why we provide a free evaluation of all of our technology. We have different, we can send them different, cloud links to try the technology. So, even with the benchmarking, usually people want to test it, and so we try to give free tests of all of our technology. So hopefully that gives you some perspective.
That was a good question, though. There is one government body today that is used for benchmarking as well. I think Jacob was referring to the fact that we're going to be engaging them this year as well to do some benchmarking. For us, that's the National Institute of Standard Technology. And a number of technology companies use them to objectively analyze and evaluate their technology. And it can be used as a competitive advantage in terms of marketing and selling your product.
Yeah, thank you so much. That was great. Yeah, thank you for coming on today. And I think it was extremely interesting. I learned a lot about the technology in your company, and I'm extremely thankful for Jacob and Dana to have joined today. And we're probably gonna have another session soon. Yeah, thank you. We're coming to the end now.
Volkmar, just before we close, if anybody has any questions that they want to send us,
yes,
after the event, either Jacob and I would be more than willing to entertain those questions as well.
Absolutely. I will send the video link to everyone who was here today and couldn't make it at the beginning, and also to the people who couldn't make it, with the contact information.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. The meeting ends here, and I thank everyone very much for attending, and sorry for the last minute Zoom change. I had to do that because Zoom all of a sudden changed some settings, so it was by accident. Yeah.
Well, again, Volkmar, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Jacob, and thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.